Hello. It's been a while, family and friends. It's Keith Woolrich here, and man, it's good to be back. Sorry, the last couple of weeks I've had some things personally that popped up. Had to go say goodbye to a close, dear, and abiding friend, which took me to my hometown, and man, but it felt good to be home. It's interesting. I got lost a couple of times while I was in my hometown because as I was talking to some friends, the trees I knew were just planted 40 years ago. Now they're full grown and huge. So it caused me to get lost in a few of my old neighborhoods. But while I was there, again, I got to see one dear and abiding friend who you are all about to meet here in the next 25 to 30 seconds. I knew her as Vanessa Stretch, but she has done so well. She is now Dr. Vanessa Stretch. So she's going to talk about how she revamped herself, how she rebuilt herself, how she basically arose from the ashes. And I think a lot of us would love to hear that story tonight. So without further ado, let me add her on to the stream, my good friend. There she is, Dr. Vanessa Stretch. What's going on? Hey there.
Hey, y'all can hear me? It's good to go?
Oh,
all
yeah.
Right.
I think they can hear you.
How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Thank you so very, very much for asking. I was just telling those that will be listening or watching that I was home a couple of weeks ago, and
I saw you. Yes.
Yeah, we
imbibed in a bit of tequila. We had
some
tequila, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So you got some munchies for this? Because I'm gonna have more than one. I got some munchies. Come on, let's eat dinner.
Yes, we reacquainted and had some, just caught up our old marching band days. And
oh my God, yeah. 40 years worth.
How about 40 years ago, 40 years ago.
Good Lord, man, we are getting older.
Older, but like wine, we're getting better.
That's right.
And that's what's so cool about this forum. Again, I when I went home, I was telling the people the trees are taller, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my city is still the same. The essence of that hometown still just touches my heart. And again, I want to say thank you to my family and friends that hosted me. Again, just brought me right on back into the fold. And I was with three of my closest friends in the world. And Vanessa, we picked up right where we left off, right? We just picked up
40 years.
40 years. Right where we left off. And it was just amazing and it was wonderful. But then we got to talk, I was like, Vanessa, I have this podcast now and I'm headed on the double nickels. And a lot of people, our generation, we are now our parents, and some folks are beginning, say, oh, Keith, I'm headed toward retirement. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And some of our family and friends, Vanessa, have kind of thrown in the towel. And I'm saying, wait a minute. No. There is still fuel in the tank.
In the tank, yes.
There's still fuel in the tank. So when we talked about this earlier, you weren't always, but you're now Dr. PhD, Dr. Vanessa Stretch. So I'm going to ask you, why did you do it and when did you do it? And let's just go from there.
Well, why I did it and when I did it. When I did it was 2 years ago when I was 51. And why I did it, that question has to be answered going back in time, if I may.
Yes, go back in time because we all have a story to bring to this day.
How much time do I have?
You just tell the story. Baby, this is my show. Just tell the story of my show.
It's your show. All right.
It's my show.
Well, I'm going to tell, people who know me have always known ever since I was 8 years old, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I remember trying to get my homework done quickly in second grade, my in-class work, so I could go and help check off, papers when we used to do that with our friends and everything. And I felt like, ooh, this is what I really want to do. But little did I know that teaching is oh so much more than that, you know. So my mom used to joke around that I used to bring the neighborhood kids around and teach them how to tie their shoelaces. That was my thing. I was always the mama hen and all that stuff, you know. Drove some people nuts, some people loved it, but you know, hey, it's what it is. So I guess that's just my calling, whether you call it God, the universe, whatever you're, you know, born into. Um, but I do have to mention also that I happen to be adopted also, going way back, because this is all part of why I did what I did and why I do what I do. I was adopted in February of 1969, and this was towards the tail end of what they call the baby scoop era, where middle class white women just didn't do those sorts of things, and they didn't get pregnant and they didn't keep their children, and so I was surrendered to the system, and I was blessed and fortunate to have two of the most phenomenal adoptive parents. And my dad died 13 years ago, and I miss Jeff because he was the peacekeeper. And as I went along, I always wanted to be a teacher. I was going to work with the littles, but I ended up my senior year, it was my fifth year. I was at Fresno State, and I found out 2 weeks before that I was going to graduate that I was carrying my daughter, and I was all ready to be a youth minister. Me, a youth minister. Anyone who knows me, okay, because I in the Catholic Church, the good Catholic girl, the girl that I was, yeah. So I ended up walking pregnant with my daughter. You know, first the first few weeks, and I was still kind of shocked. Ended up, I was going to go get a master's degree, and then maybe afterwards a PhD. I was going to go through Fresno State's master's degree program. Go Dogs, by the way,
Go
and
dogs.
go Dogs, woo woo. And so I just decided instead that this would be the perfect time for me to play it safe, because I had a little one that I was bringing into the world. Once I decided, no, I'm going to keep her. No, she's coming to full term. No, I'm going to be a single mom. I might have to stay with my parents for a while, but I'm going to break the cycle of hiding, of dissemination, of having to lie and feel crappy about being single and being a mom. Okay, so I guess that was when I first started subverting the narrative, right? I didn't realize, because I've always been kind of a rebel. Keith kind of knows just a little bit about my rebelliousness. And so that was part of it. And I knew, thank goodness I had my family. But so I came back home for a few years. I remember Chapman University used to be right down the street from where I lived, and I would go over there because they had a satellite program over there. And I got my teaching credential, and I was really, 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 really pregnant. And I had my baby 2 days before I turned 24. Went right back, finished up my program and everything, got cleared. And my first job was at a high school. So much for teaching littles, right? And so I taught there for a while, taught in the prison system, kind of bounced around, finding my place. I've always loved teaching, but I always knew there was something missing. So when I turned 45 years old, I had just broken up with my fiance. I dodged a bullet because this gentleman, I use the term loosely, just was not good for me. Maybe good for someone else, maybe, but not for me. And so once I gave him back the ring, I found myself. And within 6 weeks after I turned 45, I found Union Institute and University. And it was 100% online. I got my, and I had already done the preliminary, the teaching credential, the administrative credential. Oh, go to administration. Something stopped me from getting my master's degree, Keith. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I had everything except for the thesis for the master's, and I thought, okay, too much unfinished business here, student loans, blah blah blah. Well, I got into the English lit composition and literature, and I found out that there was this little known program, social justice program, that Mr. Woolridge, when he becomes Dr. Woolridge, is going to check out, because we had this conversation a few weeks ago. Yes. So I ended up going into this wonderful program, social justice program, and I ended up doing an interdisciplinary humanities PhD with an emphasis in women and gender studies. And Union Institute University. Yes, I'm plugging them. If anyone's considering going there, they have this most incredible social justice program. And my mentor was my my chair for my dissertation, and he passed away about 9 months ago. We recently went for commencement, and I was able to honor him by presenting some of his work. And his widow came, and oh my God, it was just like, I'm giving you the backstory right now because we're going to go back to where, when I was doing my master's degree, there was one semester where I had to do some creative writing. So I thought I'd just do this full circle, new beginnings type of thing. And I kind of wrote about when we're young, when we're in situations where traumatic things happen to us and we don't have the language, we don't have the skills, and we don't have the wherewithal to process, to deal with it, it becomes a primal wound. Every one of us have our primal wounds, and it makes us who we are. And our primal wounds oftentimes are what keeps us from doing. I'm going to start preaching now because this is where I'm at. Keeps us from doing what we want to do. So I started this in my master's program about 8 years ago, and it bloomed into this novel that I had gotten pretty much finished. And I actually did my first edition of this novel, Full Circle New Beginnings. It was it was printed out by a third party publisher last year, and now I've done a second edition of it. It's slowly but surely I'm learning how to be an indie author and doing all my own marketing and everything. It's daunting and it made me feel uncomfortable to do. That's why I had to do it. Um, my I think my point was when I was 45 and I decided to go back to get my master's degree, I was all set up to do my PhD, and I was working at a local school district that I'm not going to really name because the last 6 years weren't great for me. But I stuck in there and I hung in there. And here's where Keith and I have talked a lot about this. I hung in there for 6 years, and then I did a couple of other little stints to get me through because it's what I knew. It was the devil I knew. I was trapped. I was making good money. I had the comfort zone going. Then I had the kid in college. Then the excuse. Then the excuse. Then the excuse.
Mm.
So even though these are legitimate excuses, and so many times we don't speak up and we don't do what our hearts tell us we need to do, it's because, especially as women, we have been trained to sacrifice for others when really it's not always necessary. Now, sometimes we have children involved and other things involved, but we have to kind of like, they come to our priorities. But once they're 18, they can do a lot more than what we sometimes feel like they're capable of. And when my daughter was out, that's when I started doing my master's. But here's my turning point that was scary as hell. I was 47 years old, came out of the shower, looked at myself wrapped in that towel, and I said, girl, you got to do this. I was struggling at work. There was a situation there that was really toxic. I made an appointment with my superintendent. It was halfway through my 13th year. And I said, boss, I need to get the hell out. And he says, yes, you do. And he let me out of my contract. And I would not say this is good for everybody. I had 21 years of retirement. I took that retirement out to
Wow.
fund my new life.
Wow.
6 weeks later, my mama got sick and she had to come and live with me. That $100,000 lasted me 8 months. Then I had to go back and teach in another school district, stayed there for a couple of years. And then I went to another school district to stay for a couple of years because, and here is, when you're after 50, when you're a woman, highly educated, high on the pay scale, and you want to teach in the K-12 system, you cannot tell me that there's no such thing as age discrimination, because I experienced the age discrimination. And to me, it's a slap in the face because I'm highly educated, and damn it, why wouldn't you want me teaching your kids? And
Right.
the last place I was at, excellent reviews. And the HR guy says, sorry, we're not going to bring you back. And I said, that's okay. It's a blessing. Here's where I'm saying dance in the fire. If I had not gone back, people would not blame me. If I had not gone back to that last school district to get me through my PhD program, I never would have met this man. And he is now in a different school district. And he and I are becoming best friends because he's going through his own doctoral program. And now the mentor has become the student to me. And I am
Right.
his mentor. And he's like, wow, is this who you are? And I said, this is who I am now.
Right. Right.
So I know I've done a lot of speaking, but what I want to say is that we give ourselves this narrative, this false narrative that we have to stick through no matter what. We said I do 20, 25, 30 years ago, and we got to stick through no matter what, even though maybe we've grown apart from each other. I've never been married, but I've seen enough people this happen before. Or we're at this one job. I'm only just 5, 10 years away from retirement, so I might as well just stick with it, but I'm miserable. You might have a heart attack, and then what the hell is that good for? What I'm saying is there is this other book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Right. I've read that. Yes.
Been out. I told you, Keith. Yep. And this book, in the very beginning, there's this poor farmer who wants to go and find his treasure, and he thinks he has to go to the pyramids in Egypt, but he ends up just short of it. And that's where his tears fall. He weeps for joy, and his heart says, you need to dig right here. Don't go any further. Dig right here because you're going to find me there. Where your tears fall is where you need to dig. That's where you're going to find your treasure. And once you say yes to the universe, that secret is no secret. The universe will conspire. That's the word, conspire, to get you to where you're at. I don't have any retirement, but I have a full plate at Fresno State now as a first-year writing teacher. I have my afternoon and evening classes with my ESL with Merced College, and I actually had someone beg me, please don't leave. And if you don't think that was like heartening, you got another thing coming, because please don't leave. We love you. And then I have another potential for full-time because they don't care how old I am, and they're glad I have a PhD, because I've left the place where I was merely tolerated, and now I'm in with folks who cherish me, and I can
Cherish and
them.
celebrate you.
That's my story, and I'm telling you right now. I went to commencement, met a young man by the name of Terrence, who had been in a really bad wreck. He was in a wheelchair. Was wondering if he should have even gone, and I started talking. I never realized that I had reached a point in my life where I had now become an inspiration to other people. And it is humbling, and it is such a high, and it is such an awesome feeling to know that I can inspire because I'm living it. My 78-year-old auntie told me, you know what? Now I can start doing things by myself without your uncle, because I've watched you and you've made me brave. And she's like the icon where everyone's kind of scared of her. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that to say what a great person I am. What I'm saying is, if you have a dream, please go do it, because life is too damn short otherwise.
And that's what this show's about, Dr. Stretch, that even after 50, there's still dreams. There's still things that we've always wanted to do.
We just got started.
We're just getting started. So I hear you say,
don't be afraid.
You left the job, you wrote a book,
I did.
Earned your PhD.
I'm doing editing. Yep, all that.
After 50.
That's right.
All after 50. And now you have more opportunity that you probably had. You know, as we are both of authors, it just opens up so many more doors for you. Mm-hmm. My calendar, my family will tell you, it's full. Speaking engagements, training seminars, things of that nature, and it's all happened post 50. But what I hear you say, one thing that we, up to this point, and you said something about trauma or something, that if
primal wounds, yep.
Primal wound, thank you. If that primal wound isn't healed, that fear or whatever that is will stop you at this age from being all that you can be.
So, and by the way, with that primal wound, do not think that it'll ever go away.
It stays with us, right?
I was adopted. I was surrendered. I remember my mom would sometimes, when I was younger, I would come back from taking the shopping cart into the shopping cart area, and she would turn on the car engine, and I would go crazy if I wasn't in the car. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. and that abandonment issue. And of course, that's affected me with personal relationships, being clingy when I was younger. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. But once you realize that that's a part of who you are and you nurture it and you embrace it, embrace your faults, embrace your jagged edges, love exactly who you are, and it's going to become your strength. Don't ever make it an excuse. Well, I was adopted, so this is why I have problems with people and in relationships. No. Okay, so this is why I'm having problems. What can I do to make it better? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Work on it
right.
and
So,
celebrate the little things.
Vanessa, I mean, your story is
I
just
talked a
it's
lot,
one
sorry, but
it's one of bounce back, right?
Mhm.
When we had our conversation, I think it was a couple weeks ago. We were just talking about bouncing back,
Yep,
recovery.
that's right.
I call your show the remix, right?
Right.
You just remixed all that hurt, pain, and tragedy to now where you're blossoming and you're blooming and you're gonna go forward. And you took a chance. You spent your retirement. Oh my God, I spent my retirement. There's still what 20 years for you to recover all that's been
I'll
lost.
never retire though, Keith. That's the thing. I'm in love with what I do. So why would I ever want to retire? And guess what I did today?
What'd you do today?
I signed up for CrossFit. Me, pudgy old me, signed up for CrossFit. And you are my accountability buddy because in the spring, we're going to do a 5K in this
Oh,
gym.
don't put me out here like
Yeah.
this. Now, wait a minute. Now, I'm not agreeing to this, ladies and gentlemen. See, she's trying to corner me in to
See,
play
that's
this
how much I'm
back.
like, yep,
See,
come on,
see,
let's do this.
she's,
So
oh, you
yes,
said you were going to do it. I know.
I said yes to me. I
And
said
that's
yes
what's
to me.
important, right?
That's what I did today, and I never thought I'd ever do that in a million years.
After 50.
After 50, at 53.
I love to see. I will keep repeating this narrative as long as this show's around. There's still time. There's still sand in the hourglass. There's still another mile to run. But it takes a bit of courage. And to your point, I hear you saying carry that baggage with you to a certain extent. That wound is not going to go away. All right, it's there, but I'm going to move on beyond it. Did I catch that right, Dr. Vanessa?
Well, yes, and then sometimes what you can do is you can use that wound. You use those wounds as a catalyst, and then you also use those wounds as an opportunity to make sure that this the um the things that happened in the past you don't perpetuate it. Like I had the opportunity when I was pregnant with my daughter, they wanted me to give her up for adoption. And I said, am I really going to make this a multi-generational thing? No, the craziness stops now. Abortion, yeah, I could have, but no, this stops now. I'm going to be a mom and I'm going to close the gap. And in writing too, and giving, it's all about what my birth mother may or may not have done in 1968, 1969, giving me up, living in a home for unwed mothers, being able to write about these characters that I kind of sort of knew about gave me closure on my wounds too, because I got to give them the endings that I believed they should have.
Ha,
You know what I mean? And
right.
that made me feel so much better, and it healed me. Writing, I've been procrastinating and procrastinating on the second book right now, but it healed me. So,
Wow.
sometimes when you can take, and what I'm saying is when you take these wounds, you don't necessarily carry your baggage, but you understand that it's there, and you don't give it power. It doesn't own you. You own it. It's
Right.
your imperfection, and you own it, and it's okay because it's all part of the tapestry that you're weaving, and it's okay. You know what I
I,
mean?
I love it. I love it. Well, as we wrap up, I like to keep our listening audience to about less than 30 minutes.
Yeah,
What
and I took
what
up some more.
piece of no, this is fine. This is what this is about. That there's because you have reached somebody, Dr. Stretch. You don't know who it is yet. It may not be in our immediate circle, but this is gonna go on. I got my self promotion, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, all the other platforms. And we don't know what 51-year-old single woman may read this or hear this and go, wow, if she can, I can as well. So we don't go through for ourselves. We go through for other people. You are a light. You are an exemplar. You are an example for somebody else. So as we wrap up, what one other piece of advice would you give a 51-year-old woman who's just not feels it, but can't quite get there, what would you tell her?
Seek out people who will raise you up, not tear you down. And do not be afraid to do that, to make that change, because if it's something in your gut, because we're old enough when we're 50 in our 50s to know what a gut feeling is, go with your gut, because again, the universe will, I love that. I love that term from The Alchemist, the universe will conspire to get you where you need to be. But you can't do it alone. And make sure that the people that you let in your inner circle are the best for you. And don't be afraid to let go. And be afraid to seek out.
I
And if you
love
ever want to talk to me, I'm here too. We'll scroll some information on how you can get to my author page
Oh,
and all
let
that
me do
good
that
stuff.
right now. Just 1 second. I think, and I'll also put it in the. We slowed down a little bit, Dr. Stretch. I'll put it when I post it, how people
Got
can
you,
reach you.
got you, got you. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So again,
thank you. This just leaps my joy. Again, I went home under kind of a sad circumstance, but I saw my friends and I ran across Vanessa and we just had a wonderful time. I said, you got to tell your story. So thank you so much for sharing. I will be getting you your copy again. This will be on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, under my conversations with Cousin Keith. We're on Spotify. We're on Anchor. We're on all the major platforms, and I'm trying to get this message out that again, if you are post 50, there's still some fuel in the tank. There's still a couple miles that we can run together. That it ain't over, and I want you to understand that. So, with that said, I want to thank our sponsors, R12, Plush Vodka. And I'm looking for others that if you want to speak to an audience, our subscriptions are growing. And please, oh, by the way, before I forget, please like and subscribe at the YouTube channel, which is Conversations with Cousin Keith. I firmly believe that we are going to, our Generation X, there's still room. There's still stories that we can tell other people, not only those of our generation, but the younger ones, the millennials and the Generation Zs coming behind us. So with that said, I want to thank Dr. Stretch for joining me. This has been Keith Woolridge. And until we see you again, bye for now.